Thank you. Welcome. Hello, welcome to this exciting first panel of Punkfest Cornell, kicking off our celebration. I'm a professor of music here and the director of LGBT Studies program. I'm the co-organizer, along with Tom McEnany, professor of comparative literature. And we're excited to bring to you this event. We've had many co-sponsorships and organizers in this process, too numerous for me to call out by name, so I've made this slide. Hopefully you've been reading it as you've been waiting, but we want to thank all of them from our hearts. Without them, of course, we couldn't have put this event on. So I'm very honored to introduce our panelists, Masha Alyokina and Sasha Bogino of Pussy Riot, the Russian feminist punk rock protest group based in Moscow, as well as Media Zona, an independent news outlet that reports on the courts, law enforcement, and prison systems in Russia. And we also have Sasha an artist promoter in Russia who was instrumental in the campaign to release Pussy Riot when they were in prison, pulling together many rock artists such as Madonna to an international campaign to free them. Pussy Riot gained international attention in 2012 after staging one of their sudden punk performance actions in the Cathedral of Christ the Savior in Moscow. They had many more prior to that, but this is the one that put them on the map, the global map perhaps, protesting the ties between the Orthodox Church and President Vladimir Putin. Their performance of a punk prayer, which the English translation is Mother of God, drive Putin out, resulted in the arrest, trial, conviction, and 21-month imprisonment of two members of the collective, Nadia Tolokonovka, sorry about this, and Masha. After her release, Masha participated in a punk action at the Sochi Olympic Games in 2014 as well, protesting Putin's crackdown on LGBT communities. And she's featured in an English language music video, I Can't Breathe, about the death of Eric Gardner. She is currently working in political theater, the troupe called the Belarus Free Theater, and they've recently had their first performance, I believe, of a Burning Door, which she will be telling you more about. Sasha Bogino began her dangerous occupation of a reporter in Russia at the age of 19, already working in independent media, and then in 2015 becoming a reporter for Media Zona, writing on protests against Russian interventions in Ukraine, media censorship, political prisoners, and human rights violations in Russian prisons. The courage and determination of all three of our distinguished guests is an inspiration to all of us hoping to effect change through music, performance, theater, education, and the power of the pen. Without further ado, let's welcome Masha, Sasha, and Sasha to Cornell, and I'll turn it over to Sasha C. for their upcoming presentation.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So we want to start our conversation with film screening. This is almost 2 hours film. Don't be afraid, it would be shorter this evening. It's the film of our friend Evgeny Mita, who is the documentary filmmaker. And probably it's the first attempt, and very successful attempt as we think, to do the full story of Pussy Riot. He made the full story of Pussy Riot using a lot of documentary videos from whatever Pussy Riot members have done from, like, let's say, inside. Also, a lot of interviews which he made after, the director made after their release from prison. interviews with other people who participated somehow in all this process. And what's the most interesting and important in his film, that together with the most full story of Pussy Riot ever, he made interesting, let's say, investigations about how Pussy Riot is related to the history of Russian protest art, not only contemporary protest art, but let's say kind of protest art of even Tsarist times. And he makes very interesting comparisons between Tsarist times of Ivan Grozny, Ivan the Terrible, and different other periods of Russian history. And,
color music.
Yeah. And nowadays. So when I asked him to do some kind of abbreviated version, because to show almost 2 hours means to arrange like a separate event. And by the way, I asked those who are somehow connected with film festivals, so who is able to screen this full film here or somewhere else with discussion. Unfortunately, I haven't got any devices here or cards, whatever, but you write your email address, and then we definitely connect you with the filmmakers and the company which distributes this film. It was only shown in Russian Film Festival, a very independent Russian documentary film festival called Art Doc Fest this year. So let's start with this trailer, because he made like incredible work. He abbreviated almost 2 hours film to 13 minutes version, but it's interesting that all main points of this film you can find in this short version, let's say long trailer. The film is called Art and Punishment, and I hope everything works here. We just checked in the beginning. Let's start it. Right now?
Well, 1 second for him to switch.
Yeah. Are you ready? Okay. So, Art and Punishment by Evgeny Mita, the trailer.
Не ты, он. А что со светом?
Федосия Прокопьевна, она родилась в богатой семье боярской, и эта семья принадлежала к узкому кругу, приближенному к царю.
Надя и Петя мы познакомились на выставке школы Родченко. Была семестровая выставка наша. И они, видимо, искали новых активистов, решили зайти на школу.
И вообще я ехала в Москву, у меня была цель не только поступить на философский факультет, но и стать подмастерьем ученицей Григория.
С Машей, собственно, мы познакомились в 2006 году, когда война была в расцвете, делала свои акции, самые известные. Мы хотели как раз сделать вот акцию в честь Ерофеева, в честь вот этого судебного процесса над запретным искусством. Была нехватка документаторов, и она согласилась документировать.
Подготовка к акции и все эти действия, которые я видела, которые я снимала, они интересовали меня в большей степени, чем, собственно, люди, которые это делают. И только потом, спустя какое-то время, я уже начала с ними знакомиться и, соответственно, выяснила, что у нас довольно много общего.
Мы друг на друга обратили внимание, даже не знаю почему, наверное, потому что в группе «Война» была такая достаточно жесткая атмосфера в какой-то степени, она была, может, наверное, полезна для акции, но была такая, ну, странная такая мачистская моментами атмосфера, где, естественно, страдали в основном мы с ней. Не было еще тогда ни четкой концепции, ни названия, и потом уже в 2011 году все это более-менее стало ясно, что это будет чисто женская группа феминистской направленности, будет, естественно, художественная акционистская группа. В октябре увидели это заявление Медведева о том, что скоро у нас будет новый президент, его будут звать Владимир Путин. Естественно, всех это возмутило. Я помню, какой был всплеск в обществе, всплеск в оппозиционной среде. И мы поняли, что нужно действовать.
Школьные классы суют избирателей в душных комнатах обретены. Стабильность готова. Освободи, освободи, освободи.
Юродивый – это герой, глаз народа, глаз Божий. Поэтому у русских юродивых довольно много обличений в адрес царя. Иван Грозный шел на Псков. Никола Солос его встретил перед городом с куском сырого мяса в руках, как встречают с хлебом с солью. И Иван Грозный, увидев кусок сырого мяса, возмутился, сказал, что я мясо не ем, сейчас Великий пост. А Никола Солос ответил, что ешь плоть своих людей, да, своего народа.
Красная площадь – это один из самых охраняемых объектов в нашей стране, в нашей столице.
Россия, мы существуем! Бум, Россия! Riot, Riot! Выйди на улицу! Живи на красной! Покажи свободу! Гражданской власти!
Сразу же это пошло в народ, увидели, что людям нравится. После этого мы, наверное, недели две каждый день давали интервью. Guardian, BBC, вот эти новостные гиганты.
У Путина наибольшие шансы стать президентом. Об этом заявил патриарх Московский и всея Руси Кирилл.
Мы решили, что 21 февраля мы пойдем в храм Спасителя. Это территория Путина, это его символ захвата просто религии уже Путиным, где буквально вот с площадки патриарх Кирилл призывал прихожан голосовать за Путина.
Что это еще за провокация? Быстро ушли отсюда.
Активистки феминистской группы устроили 5-минутный концерт.
反普丁女子乐团 Pussy Riot 遭收押，口吃7年牢饭。
Ибо нет у нас будущего, если перед святынями великими мы начинаем глумиться. И если это глумление кому-то, полагаю, ложится на душу.
Надя, держись, Надя!
Настоящие мужчины. Свободу пусть стирает! Свободу пусть стирает! Свободу пусть стирает! Свободу пусть
хулиганство, которое заключается в грубом нарушении общественного порядка, выражающее явное неуважение к обществу, совершенное по мотивам религиозной ненависти и вражды и по мотивам ненависти в отношении какой-либо социальной группы лиц по предварительному
Вы признаете себя виновными по предъявленному вам обвинению? Толоконникова.
Нет, я не признаю себя виновной по предъявленному обвинению. А могу я пояснить, почему?
Вы все поясните.
Они вышли туда и начали там молиться. Молиться Богородице. Является ли эта молитва легитимной или нет? Это сложный вопрос, между прочим, даже с теологической точки зрения.
Непонятно, для чего нужно вызывать судебное заседание художников. Ваша честь, мы не рассматриваем дело относительно проблем современного искусства, актуального искусства. Данные свидетели и их сведения, которые они могут сообщить суду, это господин Ерофеев, художники, доктора, они являются просто-напросто неотносимыми доказательствами.
Следующее, что можно сказать по поводу Pussy Riot, то это оживление или овеществление картин Малевича.
То, что сделали Pussy Riot в храме, это продолжение традиции юродства. Не случайно так много говорят о Pussy Riot, что они надели на свои головы маски, да, для того, чтобы сорвать маски с общества. История боярыни Морозовой, конечно, совершенно особая, потому что это невероятной силы противостояния, причем духовное противостояние женщины и власти. Женщины с одной стороны и власти, причем двуединой власти, государственной и церковной, с другой стороны.
Мы говорили о том, что они феминистки, и они считают вполне обоснованным подобный молебен, приравнивающий феминисток к Богородице. И что феминизм – это то, что допустимо Русской Православной Церкви. Все это не соответствует действительности, потому что известно, что является смертным грехом, как считают православные, к смерти души, в том числе все неестественные проявления человека, связанные с его жизнью.
Многие написали личные письма. Red Hot Chili Peppers, Flea, Энтони Кидис, Алекс Капранос из Франц Фердинанда, гитарист Роберта Планта Джастин Адамс. Совершенно разные люди. Маккартни для России, это для нескольких поколений советских людей, скажем, и постсоветских людей, это вообще главный артист всех времен народа. Ну, я ему написал такое очень страстное письмо. До суда остается 2 дня. Через час я получаю письмо Маккартни. Но это была такая информационная бомба. Маккартни поддержал Pussy Riot.
Вам предоставляется последнее слово.
Мне так жаль, что произнесено было такое количество слов, и вы до сих пор этого не поняли. Или вы лукавите, говоря о наших извинениях, как неискренних извинениях. Я не понимаю, что вам еще нужно услышать. Для меня лишь этот процесс имеет статус так называемого процесса. И я вас не боюсь. Я не боюсь лжи и фикции, плохо задекорированного обмана в приговоре так называемого суда.
Система не может скрыть репрессивный характер этого судебного процесса. Россия в очередной раз выглядит в глазах мирового сообщества не так, как пытается ее представить Владимир Путин в своих каждодневных международных встречах. Все обещанные им шаги на пути к правовому государству, очевидно, так и не были сделаны. А его заявление о том, что суд по нашему делу будет объективен и вынесет справедливое решение, является очередным обманом всей страны и мирового сообщества. Все, спасибо.
Мы в отчаянных обстоятельствах, но не отчаиваемся. Гонимы, но не оставлены. Открытых людей легко унижать и уничтожать, но когда я немощен, то силен. Слушайте нас, а не Аркадия Мамонтова о нас. Не искажайте и не перевирайте все нами сказанное и позволяйте нам вступить в диалог и в контакт со страной, которая в том числе и наша, а не только Путина и патриарха. А то, что я хочу процитировать сейчас, это следующие строчки. «Откройте все двери, снимите погоны, почувствуйте с нами запах свободы». Все.
Уважаемая публика, мы не в театре находимся.
Pussy Riot.
seeing as this is a festival about punk music, one of the first questions I want to ask is about that term, really, punk, because it refers to a variety of possible actions, musical actions, theater actions, protest actions. I'm wondering about in 2011, what punk meant to you, that you called yourself a punk protest group, and what it might mean now for your actions and also with the Media Zona project.
Mm-hmm. For me, punk in 2011 means the same as now. It's a way of life, but not like a music direction. I should say I'm not a musician. I don't know how to play any musical instrument. Like in my current theater project collaboration, the teacher of vocals said that I should not like open my mouth, never, and cut me from the whole like singing sense. So I'm totally, I'm the last one who can, you know, say something relevant about music. Well, but about punk, I think it's only way to, you know, for me to express yourself, because you can shout as loud as you can. You can be like totally unnormal, because I kind of hate norms, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel it's still a word that describes what you're doing now in your theater work, or perhaps even in the Media Zona work? Sasha can weigh in on this as well.
You're talking about genres, like human rights or music or theater. It's genres, but punk is way of life for me. I'm not like pretend to be like something.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Objective.
What's the right pronunciation? Genre or
genre?
Genre, yeah.
So, does this thing work? Okay, cool. So, well, Media Zona is actually a news outlet which covers the issues of violence in prison and the police violence and like different human rights violations. And well, it's not, well, it may not be like just like a punk thing, but it is still a thing created by Pussy Riot, just like after Masha and Nadia were released from their penal colonies, they decided to found this news outlet. And well, because the history of our country is like over the past few years is written in a courtroom, so like you have to like follow and read a lot about like various trials to understand what happens in the country. Because this like the trials it influences everything, like the society, the education, I don't know, even economics perhaps. So. And there wasn't, like, before Pussy Riot created Media Zona, there was no big media reporting on these issues. Like, what happens in prison stays in prison, because prison is like another world, and it's like closed from the outside, because like not many prisoners can like write letters to their families, and not many prisoners have someone to write letters about what happens in prison. And like some human rights activists, they might try to help them, but they couldn't reach them, because of like many restrictions and because the administrations of different prisons. So, well, maybe like it's somehow about like fighting violence and about in some way like fighting the government which creates this violence. Maybe this can be punk as well.
So you said that history, or that kind of Russian history, bring that down a little bit, is, you know, written in the courts right now. Yeah. And yet there's the great line also about, well, we're not in the theater when in the courtroom, but that seems to be one of the things that Pussy Riot is really about, right? Is and also with your work, Masha, that Burning Door is a work of theater, but it's also a work that's connected to life in prison. So can you talk a little bit about the relationship between theater, either one of you, theater and the court, or theater and prison? Why theater? It seems like there's all these other genres. Why do something in the theater?
Yeah, because like when you're living in Russia and when you are acting politically in Russia, you always feel yourself like in the theater. Because when you somehow stop yourself and start to think, is it real? You just could not believe. Because it's totally like absurd world, sometimes. More and more, actually. Well, about Burning Doors, the project which I was working on last 4 or 5 months, it's our collaboration with Belarus Free Theater. It's a underground theater company, group from Belarus, and I was really excited because I never met something like them before. I felt that they are doing in Belarus in total dictatorship the same work as we are doing in Russia, but they are theater, and I wrote to them a letter that I want to do something with them. And after my letter about something, they invited me to join them to their trip to Calais, which is the biggest refugees camp in Europe, in France. And we went to Calais, and I've seen thousands of refugees, and I've seen directors of Belarus Free Theater working with refugees, and I was really impressed, and that's how we started. And after that, I mean, the play is about resistance between artists and authorities, and it's based on 3 stories, not only mine, but another, and I think main contemporary artist of Russia now, Peter Pavlensky, whose last action was burning the doors of main security service of Russia, FSB. And as you know, Vladimir Putin is ex-FSB agent. So that was like a straight fight with this system. Well, yes, and Peter is my good friend, and he's really amazing. So if you are somehow interested at contemporary protest art in Russia, Peter is your guy. Well, and third story is a story of Oleg Sentsov, who is Ukrainian filmmaker and very talented person who got 20 years of prison because of his political position, because of nothing. He was accused for terrorism, but he did not do nothing. No terrorist acts, no preparation, nothing. He's a citizen of Crimea, and he was talking a lot about that Crimea is Ukrainian, not Russian, and all of this Russian act was annexation, so on. So he got 20 years, and now he's in the middle of Siberia, and he was tortured very brutally, as well as his colleagues. And our play is a part of the campaign for his freedom. Well, and maybe that was the main reason for all of us to try to show tortures. And if you decide to show tortures, you actually start to do it. That's why it's 100 minutes of tortures on the stage.
mental tortures and physical tortures. Well,
so just a follow-up question about that brings it back to some previous work, but also that I'm interested in how Sasha, because this is your first time to the United States, right?
What?
This is your first visit to the United States?
Yeah.
Yeah. So welcome.
Thank you.
But you, Masha, earlier did a video, a music video called "I Can't Breathe." That was about the death of Eric Garner, and it was connected to Black Lives Matter. And so I'm interested in kind of your thoughts about that video, how it came about, because it's also about a torture. And then kind of maybe after that, Sasha, how you see the work that you're doing with Media Zona maybe connected to things in the United States as well.
Actually, we made this song in 2 days, 1 day and a half, very spontaneously. We've been in New York, that was end of 2014, and we were there for different reasons. We were recording some other songs and had some, I don't know, meetings with different people, mostly for Media Zona. And we were sitting in the car, and Peter, who is Nadia's husband, just showed me last words of Eric Garner, which were everywhere, because that was like everybody would discuss it, and I've read them, and I just understood that I should do something. And after that, we came to the event, to the concert of Vice, Vice Media. And there were a lot of musicians there, like famous musicians. And I was I went to each of them and said, like, Eric Garner, and it's very important, and we should do something, and probably we should record a song, but I don't know how, because I'm not a musician. Can you please help me? And the next evening, we just came to, I don't know, to the studio of somebody whom I came, and made it.
And I've heard that Richard Hell was there?
Yes, Richard just invited us because one of our members, she's a really fan of Richard Hell, and she asked us a lot. Sasha, it's a girl, Sasha. Mm-hmm.
A lot of Sashas everywhere.
Well, yes, and we came to his home, and he was very, he was very good. He made the table and with food and wine, and we just asked him, "Can you please go to the studio, because we should go to the studio now?" And and he went. I don't know. He just went there. And I asked him to read the last words of Eric Garner, and he agreed. So that's it. And after that, we came back to Russia, and we were thinking how to do the video, how to find the metaphor of choking. And after some weeks, we found it. It was a grave where we were, me and Nadia. Yes. And that was a very interesting story, how I organized the shooting of video, but it's another story. It's a long one, because it's in Russia is really for us with our names it's really problematic, unfortunately.
To make a video, to make anything?
Yeah, because like you're going to the studio and they say yes, and after you giving your passport, they look at this and say no.
Because of all your other video work.
And with everything like this, when we started Media Zona, we could not rent an office. So we founded a person who founded a person, just to rent an office. And we were just two girls who knew how to, you know, make an action and somehow talk with journalists about activism and protest art. We totally were not people who knew how to, you know, rent an office, fill up papers, like organizing all the structures. That were not us, totally. And we were, I don't know how we made it, but we just really wanted to do it.
Yeah. All of them. Well, yeah, our newsroom is actually quite nice, but it takes like 1/4 of this room, and there are like 17 of us, and it doesn't matter. So, yeah, Buck, what did you say about some like problems with the prison system in Russia and the United States? I think there are some problems we share. I mean, obviously, I know very little about prisons in the United States, but well, I'm quite sure that the conditions for prisoners there, in some prisons, are not really well. Yeah, in Russia as well, and well, the thing is that well, there's a lot of experience to share and a lot of information to publish, but people people in Russia, they don't normally want to discuss prisoners and the conditions they live in. Because the society is okay, you committed a crime, so you're a bad person, so go to prison, and whatever happens with you there, we won't care about this. So there's only if you're lucky, there's only your family or your friends caring about you. Maybe you have money for a good lawyer, which is often doesn't happen because Russia is a huge country and most of Russia's regions are not really wealthy. So, well, we report, Medicine reports a lot about what happens in prisons because prisoners write, some of them, they write letters to their families and we try to collect it. And if something bad happens in a prison, for example, we are getting a report about tortures in a penal colony somewhere in the middle of nowhere. And the first thing we call to the prisons administration and we ask them questions, and guess what? They don't tell us anything, and normally, so we have to find sources and stuff like this. And one of my colleagues who is as young as me, she's 21, she does a lot of reports about prisons and prisoners in Russia. So I don't know, maybe you in the United States, maybe you have some really specific media which do this stuff as well. So I think it is really important to share this information, publish and share the experience, because this is one of the ways to solve many problems, I think.
Could I add something?
Yeah.
First of all, the girls sometimes are quite modest. That's why I want to give you kind of, I think, important chronological order how the activity of Masha during the court process and especially in prison finally turned to her human rights activity and to creation of Media Zona Media. I was very impressed by Masha's behavior in prison. When she started 4 criminal cases against administration of prison. I think there's no other prisoner in Russian history who started 4 cases. Also, usually, how these cases are considered by court, 5 minutes. Every case was occupying 2 weeks of court time. So it was a big, big process because she never surrendered. She was fighting, a lot of arguments, a lot of people around, very good lawyers, very good so-called public lawyers, public defendants. I was there as well. I was bringing very unusual letters to courts. Could you imagine? I come to the court to middle of nowhere and bring a letter of Paul McCartney, who is addressing, not to like Putin or society, he is addressing, dear Lydia Mikhailovna, to this concrete judge. and she must consider this letter as an official statement of Paul McCartney. And we brought hundreds of letters like this. Even when Masha was not in the court, but she was televised from her prison because she was not allowed to get to courts. And could you imagine? She started this 4 cases. She made local courts in Perm region very, very busy for months. And she won 3 cases.
Nobody knows where Perm is. It's Ural Mountains, very far from Moscow.
But listen, it's like maybe the record, the absolute record in Russian prison history. She won 3 cases out of 4. So, you know. And I think it's very much related to whatever happened with Media Zona, because I think Masha's main kind of spiritual drive is fighting for justice. She's like famous for fighting for justice, even among her school, schoolmates. I became kind of a let's say, participant of this process only after they were put in prison. I never knew them before this, but then I met a lot of friends, and they say she's for justice. And that's why she was fighting that much in administration and achieved something impossible, like 3 cases out of 4. And that's why it was natural for me when Masha, when she was released from prison, she decided together with Nadia to form this very human rights organization. And I followed Masha. I flew 5 hours with her, like after her, to Krasnoyarsk to discuss with, to see how they discuss with Nadia their future, and all of a sudden they'd say, no, we now have to concentrate on our human rights work. And I could tell you that there were a lot of journalists who were killed in Russia, hundreds of them, you know, and I think this is a very effective way. If we guess, we have no proofs, but if we guess that it was somehow orchestrated by power, the very famous, murder cases of like Anna Politkovskaya, whatever, it was always very effective because after this, I physically felt how media became more kind of reserved, still oppositional, but kind of, you see that this is forbidden zone, which was not forbidden yesterday, but became forbidden today after some death of some journalists. So I cannot say that it was orchestrated by power, but if it was very effective. And that's why I'm absolutely admiring the work of people like Sasha, who is only 21 years old, and she's risking to work in the media which was created by Pussy Riot members, and she somehow continues fight of Masha for justice, and people who are not afraid to do it after this many kind of cases of just killed or beaten journalists. It's unbelievable.
That leads me to a question about designing an action, since you've been involved in a number of different types of actions, from your early environmental work and demonstrating in sort of the traditional demonstration way, versus the music video, now theater. And I'm wondering if you could say a little bit about how these different types of action designs work, and how you feel that they are received by both the Russian public, and even give some words of advice to those people who might be thinking of the actions we might need to plan in the weeks ahead.
Well, I was quite young. I think I was 21 or something, and I was a student of first course of journalism and creative writing. And I was sitting, I had a break between lectures, something, And I was reading news on computer, and I found that that the forest which is very important for me personally, the government want to cut because they want to, you know, build their luxury villa for some, I don't know, ministry of, I don't know, I think that was police ministry. So, well, I was very upset, and I felt that I should do something. I took a paper and a pen and found two actually, organizations which is protecting environment, and I wrote down the addresses in Moscow, took my bag and went there. At first one, they said that they cannot do nothing, and at second one, they said they opened the door. That was really good, because that was evening. I said like, hello, I'm Masha, and my favorite forest they want to cut, and what should I do? Your organization, you know how to do everything, and they said like nothing, and I was like quite shocked, because their organization they know things. Why nothing? Something we can do, and they said like you can collect signatures, and I said perfect, we will collect signatures, very good, and they give me like papers like this, a lot of lists, and I wrote a post on social media, I don't know, LiveJournal, I think, that we should collect signatures, and after that do something else. And at the beginning there was 3 of us, like usual people who just also love this forest because it's really unique, and a lot of people go in there, and well, but after half of the year, after 8 months, there was about maybe 7,000–8,000 people around Russia in different cities who were organizing different actions, like classical political actions, like rallies, collecting signatures, talking with media about this particular forest, and we stopped the government activity. So, and just after that, when I met Voina group, who was the actionist group before Pussy Riot, I realized that we can use different ways of protest, and I'm really like experiments, and that's how actions started for me. But what can I say? I think everything goes from the heart, and I should say that I'm totally not something unique or special. I'm not a special, totally. I'm like everybody, and everybody has a story, and everybody in different situations in the life have to make a choice, and choice is really, it's usually like to act or to stay aside, and just don't stay aside, because otherwise your history will be written by somebody else, and this is not nice, I think.
Yeah, I don't know how we're doing that, but yeah, should we?
I think we can start taking some.
Yeah. So we're going to start taking some questions from the audience, from all of you. We have 2 people with microphones. If you just raise your hand, they'll come over to you and give you the mic, I think.
So one question. Actually, Sasha wants to show the illustration of whatever they do in media zone. Would we do it later or now? A little bit later, maybe.
What?
So, briefly, this is a video.
Sorry, we'll do the video before we take questions.
But maybe someone will ask about that, because, well, actually, there was like only one like protest action I was participating in. And that was because our journalist was attacked by strangers with a group of other journalists and human rights activists. And like, maybe some of you guys will ask me about how we work and what we do and stuff like this, so I will show this video, or maybe we should.
Let's go ahead and look at the video, and that might inspire some questions also.
Okay, like just a couple of words more about this event. No, that's the wrong word. Whatever. Yeah, like this happened just like recently, just like in March. Does it count as recently? I don't think so. Okay. Well, maybe you guys know something about the region of Chechnya in Russia, which is like kind of like one of the most dangerous regions in our country, because it is like, well, the head of this region is Ramzan Kadyrov, and he's like our president's friend, and he's quite a dangerous guy because he said the dictatorship in this region and like people, like many people there live in fear there, and like the local government doesn't let the like human rights activists from like outside in this region, and everyone says it's all okay here, but it's not. So like group of journalists, like the majority of them were Russian journalists, but there were like also journalists from Sweden, I think, and Norway. Yeah, and a couple of human rights activists went to like a press tour to Chechnya in this March, and like their bus was suddenly attacked by strangers. Like there was like a group of like 20 people or something, like wearing masks, and they blocked the bus with their cars, and they took out like all the journalists and all the activists outside and like attacked them. And then they just burned the car, and they just like disappeared. And my colleague was attacked as well, and he had his like microphone in his iPhone like working, and he recorded all of this, like what happened. And then he called me, like it was the night of my birthday, and he told me this story in like a really clear and calm voice, saying like, so we were attacked, okay, just as planned. Like our flat was bugged, and then some like guys were following us on the car, but we were attacked. But anyway, so we protested near the president's administration's office, yeah, and like we asked for a clear and honest investigation, but guess what? Investigation still runs. And we don't even know the names of like the exact amount of the attackers because no one cares. But we took this like audio my colleague made, and we made a short like a short movie about this. And I kind of failed with subtitles, but I hope you will understand it anyway.
Yes, subtitles.
Yes, subtitles.
Okay. So we should start now.
Carlos has it.
No, it's another one.
No, this isn't it.
No.
Perfect. No.
Switch It's no problem. Switch to my one. Yes, this.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go. I'm sorry.
У нас сбили журналистов наших. Наш коллега пострадал.
Где-то Сенцовский, да? Это правда, оказывается?
Да, конечно.
Сейчас там у нас в парке ребята говорили, я думал,
Не, сожгли машину, сбили журналистов. На границе Чечни.
Да, это, получается, мы сперва были в Чечне, потом... Мы были в Чечне, а потом сюда ехали.
Подожгли машину. Сбили людей, часть женщин, подожгли машину. Я главный редактор «Медиазона», наш корреспондент Егор Сковородов, ориентирует займется. Как с рукой. Все равно есть такой человек не представит. Ничего. Если что, ничего. Да. Да ну ничего, как бы бюрократия всякая, там осмотр телека, фотика и что-то еще. Ну в таком духе.
Но она некрасивая. Вчера она была вот красивая такая рыже-фиолетовая, это была классная, сегодня вообще уродство. Нет, там у ребят есть более красивые. Ультрампутер, да?
Да, есть.
Да.
Ну, ушибы, гематомы. Вот я сейчас смотрели, у меня тоже пальцы слабо двигаются. Я что, говорит, ну, говорит, тебе надо к неврологу, потому что нервы. Все, что я помню, это вот такое. Машина, бежит человек, тут же вылетает окно. Через некоторое время там пару звонков успел сделать, поменялся. Вытащили, как начали тебя вытаскивать по дороге.
А ты
тебя кинули.
Ты сделал звонки, пока тебя еще не вытащили?
Да, конечно.
Ты лежишь в машине и делаешь звонки?
Я сразу, как только начал пить, я вот туда вниз и начал звонить, как бы, 19-14 первый звонок.
Этой машины сезон у меня начинается. Я обычно людей на море вожу.
А как вы возите обычно место?
Да, место вожу, вот месяц-два. Там копейку себе жизнь зарабатываю.
Жена не работает? Сочи туда?
Работает, ну, малые дети, еще кормить надо.
Будете дальше работать, не знаю, журналистом?
Буду. Вы занимаетесь правым делом, все надежды на вас.
Дверь не выломили, проникли через балкон, дверь сломать не смогли, дверь оказалась целая, и нам вчера сотрудники из службы МЧС вскрывали эту дверь.
А стекло били когда? Ну они не выломали, да?
Не смогли. Нет, не смогли.
Попали через балкон. Ломали снаружи и с той стороны, и отсюда сюда. Потом через балкон залезали в итоге.
А же все-таки даже зашли туда?
Зашли, да.
Тут они забрали все документы, которые там были, всю аппаратуру.
Через балкон,
все, что
да?
там есть, там ничего нет. Там
через
пусто.
балкон.
Через балкон.
Москва требует.
Москва требует у нас раскрыть преступление.
Не, у нас
Думали, война началась или что?
Включивший диктофон.
Да.
Где вообще нужно будет ставить памятник, потому что в этой ситуации, ну или как минимум бронзовый бюст на родине. Потому что вот в этой ситуации, да, то есть все профессионалы, в общем-то, да, все профессионалы, поехавшие в зону, так скажем, некой экстремальной обстановки, да, и единственный человек, который смог воспользоваться имеющейся у него техникой.
Но он нам вчера, напомню, Сергей сказал, ну, бьют стекла, а я по телефону разговариваю.
Я по телефону там разговариваю, рассказываю о том, что происходит.
So this is very good example of whatever media zona is about and what they do. And some people might think that it's like small, alternative, underground. Yes, it's kind of small, it's kind of alternative, it's kind of underground. But listen, two girls, Masha and Nadia, and husband of Nadia, Peter, created this, founded this media right after their release from prison. Peter now is the main publisher of Media Zona. They mostly bring their own money, which they earn in public gatherings like this, to sponsor Media Zona. And could you imagine that Media Zona now, very often, like in monthly rating, is at 7th and 8th and 9th place, so in 10 most influential overall medias in Russia.
I can give you, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Excuse me?
I was just joking. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, so there are like, I don't know, 100 powerful governmental whatever medias in Russia. And this very independent news outlet is officially, sometimes according to this quotation zone, in 7th, 8th, 9th place a month?
Because we usually pay attention on something that like state media won't report on, but people want to know this. Because like, well, there's a lot of violence in Russia, and there's a lot of like different victims of violence in Russia. And state media won't report about this, but people want to know this. So that's why like there's really like only 17 of us working for Media Zona. I mean the journalists, not including like the cameramen and stuff. So I mean, like a small team reporting about such things has become like really influential, because like the state TV channels won't tell you about like LGBT activists who were attacked by strangers over and over again, or like about some violence in prison and stuff like this. And like many people in our country are in prison now for like many different reasons. Like someone can just like steal like 2 pieces of bread because he has nothing to eat, and the government sends him to the prison. And like many families have their relatives in prison, and like we have many like different communities, like political activists, like performers, like LGBTs as well. But like all of those people, they just don't exist for the government and the state media. That's why we keep doing what we're doing. And this guy, by the way, like he was like, of course he was, I think, afraid, but he was like really calm when all this happened. And what he started doing, like right after the attack, he started reporting. He called me. I wrote like a small article, we published it, and then like our editor-in-chief came and to Chechnya and took him back to Moscow, and he continued working. So and he continues working, reporting on like some Ukrainian prisoners in Russian prisons as well, and like some dangerous stuff like this, more about Chechnya, and like okay, of course, like at some points you can be afraid because you understand that anything can happen to you like every moment, but it's not the reason to stop, right? So it would be quite cool if you guys will like share some kind of like I don't know, like post on Twitter or Facebook that we exist. So that would be nice. Thank you.
So again, my point is that small independent alternative underground anyway became officially one of the most influential and powerful medias in Russia, and it's like again a miracle. And also, could you imagine, like a few months ago, there was an annual celebration of JQ magazine, and JQ magazine gives like different awards, like best actress, like I don't know, the most beautiful model, whatever, and they gave a prize to the best journalist of Russia, to the journalist of Media Zona.
Yeah, like one of our reporters who is really young as well, he's only 23, got this award, which was really surprising because GQ is like a really posh magazine and it's not really interested in stuff like we do, like prisons, and yeah, and suddenly he got this award, and we made dozens of jokes about this guy, and like wearing a really expensive suit, like riding a really posh car to this event, and we were like just making jokes about him in our group chat on Facebook. So yeah, and he was like, "I hate you guys," but yeah. So well, actually, he's like. His favorite, the favorite topic he covers is like are mysterious murders somewhere in the middle of nowhere. For example, in the announce of this GQ award was marked one of his most scaring and terrifying story happened in a small town of Apsheronsk in south of Russia. There was a man who was beheaded in the house of parents of the local policeman, and guess what? And the police said that this guy attacked the parents of the policeman. So after being beheaded, murdered, this guy was sued. Yeah, a dead guy was sued and he lost. So yeah, and this is the most famous article of Nikita Sologub, the guy who won this award. yeah, I'm up to translating all of this in English, or at least making like a couple of outlines, but yeah, anyway.
We have some articles translated to English because we have collaboration with Vice and with Guardian and with Deutsche Welle. But unfortunately, it's just some of articles.
Them, yeah. My biggest dream is like an English version of Mediazona, but there's like 17 of us with like only like 3 or 4 of us speak English, and we have a lot of work to do, and we don't have any time to translate everything we publish into English, unfortunately.
Just imagine this very guy, Nikita Sologub, who won this prize of JQ Journalist of the Year, surrounded by a lot of JQ celebrities in the official ceremony, which was televised. Instead of all these sweet words, he said very, very brave words about censorship in Russia, whatever. It was very, very important, because very rare you can see these kind of examples of when the guy participates in something official and kind of glamour, and all of a sudden he has the tribune and he has the opportunity to say the truth. And that's why I really want you to support Mediazona. I admire their work, and they sell their t-shirts here. And also, yes, if you pay this money, it goes only to their activity. It sponsors their activity, their trips, their very brave actions. And also, another type of t-shirt is a t-shirt for Oleg Sentsov, this Ukrainian prisoner who got 20 years in prison, and Masha told you about him.
Yeah. So. We have the beheaded guy t-shirt as well. This is my favorite one.
Audience question.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, I think audience will kill us. How?
Thank you. Hi. I was just wondering if Mediazona ever fears intimidation or retaliation from the Russian government, and how that affects the content that you publish. Thank you.
Well, we actually had a bunch of conflicts with this like Russian governmental internet observer. Yeah, we have a special like institution for that, which reads carefully everything like independent media publish. Yeah, and you know what, like according to Russian law, we are not allowed to like we should like really carefully report about suicides, and we do this a lot, like for example about suicides in prison, in jails and stuff like this, and according to this law, we are not allowed to mention the word suicide, right? Yeah, which is kind of, well, it's kind of hard to report about suicides, not like, but without the word suicide, like the man was found hanging somewhere, like, how did that happen? In a police station. Whoa. So, and the thing is that like all the like biggest state media do reports on suicides as well, but nothing happens to them. But yeah, but well, the thing is that like if this like observer will like find out that like we are like reporting about suicide again using the word suicide, we're getting a letter saying please remove the word suicide, or yeah, and like after like 2 or 3 letters, this observer can sue us, and we will like lose our license, and we will just be closed. But this is, I think, our like biggest problem. Yeah, but like actually we don't like we feel like, of course, the pressure of the government, but like it just happens. I mean, we don't feel it like every day. We feel like right after we publish something. I mean, there are like many different...
Can I add something? We do not rent an office as a Mediazona. We do not have any signs, you know, on the door that is this Mediazona. No Foursquare Mediazona or something like that, which was really sad from the beginning, because everybody wanted to, you know, say that I'm here, you know, small things, but, you know, it's regular practice in Russia now that policemen came to the office and took all the computers for checking.
Yeah.
And in our office, just everybody knows that every day they can come and take all the
computers, like all the laptops.
And everybody are prepared.
We usually work on laptops and we take them back home just after we finish something, which can be really annoying because my one is really heavy. And yeah, but like we don't like, we are in some ways like really careful about like everything we do because well, we're being kind of a little bit paranoid over everything. Like, for example, the newsroom is being bugged. I'm quite sure it is. So, yeah. Well, but like, we don't think on it like too much because we should continue working, and I think that was the answer. I don't know.
And also, I should say that a lot of people are asking, like, it's one of the most popular questions actually for me. What will happen with Russia after Putin? Yeah, I don't know why people are interested in something which has not happened yet, but they are asking it. And what we're doing in Media Zona, why we started it and why we want to grow and growing, because we want somehow to show the alternative of the order which Putin built. And yes, it's prohibited to use the word suicide, but I think it's relevant price to show, you know, other things which exist, and we can, I don't know, report about them.
With this kind of restrictions, it can be funny anyway, because we decided to replace the word suicide in the name of this institution. And I know some people who work there, and they are really mad every time they like read something about suicides on our website, with like each like suicide replaced by the name of this observer. Yes.
Is there another question?
So both Amnesty International and President Obama have called you prisoners of conscience, jailed for your beliefs as much as your actions. So my question is, what specifically do you believe is the difference between feminism in Russia and Western feminism?
Difference between Western feminism and Russian feminism?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I don't want to give like 1 hour answer, so I should probably mention the most important thing. So I think a really big problem that in Russia there are no political role models, women, like nobody. And we even don't have a first lady, and all the private life of our president is a taboo for media. The whole media, big media, can be crushed. The editor-in-chief can be fired because they report about family of the president. So my opinion is because they're afraid of the sexuality, but anyway. Well, also, I should say about LGBT community, which is in Moscow very close to feminist community, and now it's really dangerous for LGBT community just to exist, because you can be killed in Russia just because of you are gay. Because of the propaganda, because of the militarization of the discourse in Russia since the war started in 2014. And when I've been in penal colony, of course that was a women penal colony, and about 30% of the women which I've seen and with whom I was talking were there because of the domestic violence. And we don't have any social mechanisms in Russia to solve this problem. For example, somebody, like man beats woman, woman called to the police. Police come and take this man for 8 hours, for example, for the night. At the morning, he came back. He's coming back, and I mean, it's easy to imagine what is happening after that. And I mean, and this is very obvious story for Russia. Like I've heard hundreds of these stories, and I think that all of that is really it's possible to solve all these problems, for my opinion, only if we will change politicians, because it's a политическая воля.
Political will.
Political will. It should be political will. Yeah.
I have something to add if no more questions. Okay, can I? Mm-hmm. So the question was, what's the difference between feminism in Russia and here in the United States, right? So I think, Masha has pointed at the main problem, and the second one is, the society, because, from my point of view, the society here in the United States was always feel free to express yourself. Okay, not always, but recently, right? But in Russia, the society is kind of Soviet-minded, and it wants to work as a mechanism where everyone is kind of same. So, and feminists in Russia, quite few of them, they are divided into small communities, and they don't really, some of them communicate with each other and they kind of cooperate, but others not really. And the major part of society looks at feminists what? Why do you need this? Because women should cook food and be mothers. What? Equal rights? What? Yeah, and it's kind of, yeah, it is always kind of hard because I have very short hair and I'm a girl. A lot of strangers every day are expressing their own opinion about my haircut. I'm just walking to the grocery store and some random woman is your hair should be longer. And yeah, because the society works like that, because they think, okay, if you're a girl, you should find a husband and you should have children and stuff like this. And yeah, and if you are a woman journalist, you should report about cosmetics and clothes and stuff. And if you say, I'm reporting about prison, and violence, and they're why? You're a girl. That's what a man should do. So this is one of the basic problems and basic differences, I think.
We have time for one more question, probably.
Spasibo Gospasha, Spasibo Gospodin. I want to thank you deeply for exposing all the atrocities of the Putin government, because I see that a lot of people are willing to turn a blind eye just because Russia is not friendly to the US. Therefore, it is good. So I want to thank you for that. And moving on this subject, I want to ask you if you have been labeled American agents or something like that, or if you find, because that's an usual tactic in governments, it's they don't like you, so you should be American agents or spies or something like that. Has that happened to you?
Yeah, well, it didn't happen to us exactly. I mean, but there's a special, a special law for some foundations and human rights organizations who get some money from Western foundations. And if they do this, they will be marked as foreign agents. And if they will not mark themselves as foreign agents, they will just be closed and stop their work by the government. Well, the problem is that it's not only about opposition and some kind of political activities. Many organizations who deal with education and environment and stuff like this were marked as foreign agents just because they had some money from Western foundations, and the government the government is okay, I'm not giving you guys any money, but if you're getting money from Western foundations, foreign agents. So basically it just works like this.
If we are talking about law and if we are talking about propaganda, it's very simple. They just call us a horse of State Department. Your State Department, not ours.
No, I can. Let me add something. Yeah, it happened with me, and in a very kind of funny form as well. You know, I found about Pussy Riot from social media when they were arrested already. No, actually before, when they did this Red Square action. But then I was quite active of collecting all these letters and video statements, and I made video statements myself, like, you know, making videos of people like Peter Gabriel and bringing them to Russia, you know, publishing them, whatever. Then I met Masha, then I met Nadia in their prisons. And then I introduced Masha and Nadia to one of my friends who is a famous gallerist and also kind of political technologist, Marat Gelman. And we became quite active in collaborating with them, doing something with them, but only after their release from prison. And could you imagine the very big tabloid, like, I don't know, 6 million circulation, they made a whole article about me and Marat Gelman, telling that we were getting money from State Department, and we were like a kind of puppet masters of Pussy Riot from the very beginning. So this is a very typical thing, but what is even more funny and more unbelievable thing, that successors of KGB, the Russian Secret Service units, they think the same, because we have one guy who is very close to administration of president and this kind of secret services, and he told us, listen, it's not just they provoke press to write about this. They really think that people could behave like this only if they are paid by somebody, but who is that powerful to pay for this? Definitely State Department of United States of America. And I think this is the difference between, it's an absurd life of nowadays in Russia, because I think in Soviet Union it was much more understandable. KGB really worked. They didn't falsify things. I mean, not in Stalinist time, but in like Brezhnev time, whatever. They really worked, and they were fighting with another ideological system. It was Cold War, so they were working. These people, they pretend to work. They pretend to show Putin and others, listen, we work. We found that these guys, they are agents of State Department, and they were sponsored, and they were like puppet masters of Pussy Riot. They know it's complete lie, but some of them, they don't know and really believe in this. This is like absolutely clear sign of absurd life in Russia today.
Maybe one more question. There's one in the back there.
Hello. I also have a question about tactics used against activists, because in this country, mental health discourse, like medicalizing psychiatric discourse, is so strong and omnipresent. So is that, are activists attacked in those terms too, a lot of the time in Russia, in terms of mental unfitness? Is that a tactic used?
If it is possible, can you slowly?
Sure.
Mic closer to.
I'm just curious about tactics that are used against activists to silence, to invalidate activists in terms of mental health. That's something that happens very easily in this country, I think. Invalidating somebody, calling them crazy, that kind of a thing. Is that done a lot?
Or activists are crazy or mentally ill.
Yes, and it's, I think this is, for my opinion, this is much more worse than prison, because if they are giving you a sentence and sending you to mental hospital, you don't have a term. For example, they can give you a sentence of 2 years of prison, and if they mark you as mental sick, they can send you for forever, because there are no term. And second problem, I think the medicine which they use, even for teenagers, they use aminazine, which in English is chlorphorazine. I don't know, this is banned in the mostly, I think in the whole Europe is banned. It's a really strong tranquilizer, which makes you like a vegetable in one day.
So you can actually become mentally ill, and this is actually, I think, this is some kind of
Pawliński.
Yeah, this is some kind of like scaring activist, I think, because it's exactly the case of Peter Pawliński. He's like one of the he's the main like Russian political performer and artist, and like he was like 2-3 times he was sent to the hospital, and like this closed type hospital where people do research on your like mental illness. They proclaim that you're like mentally ill, and that's why you did this. And like no one really what happens to people there, because if like your lawyer has some difficulties to like reach you in the prison, it's almost impossible to reach you when you're in this type of hospital. Like, so even your lawyer doesn't know what happens to you there. And like Peter Pawliński was quite lucky because he was released after all, and like but some people, they like stay there forever, and the things the like local doctors use on like those people are like these things that are making them really like mentally ill, and yeah, happens a lot, unfortunately.
Well, we are well beyond the time allotted to us. Let's thank our guests for all the work.